serving up a warm dish of the Triad's culinary fare, here's your weekly helping of food, news, and views. This is the man who ate the town.
Hey folks, and welcome to episode 115 of the Man Who Ate the Town podcast. This is for the week of June 17th through the 23rd, 2019. My name is Tim Beeman.
My name is Ray Morgan.
And we're opening the recipe box. We're recording this episode of the Man Who Ate the Town at the Lab Industry Hill. It is a repurposed building on North Chestnut Street in the old warehouse district of downtown Winston-Salem. Industry Hill itself hosts a lot of cool things: restaurants, chocolatiers, breweries, entertainment complexes, a high-end stereo shop, bouldering facility, and of course, us here at the Lab at Industry Hill.
The really cool folks.
Yes, the really cool, really cool folk. Find out more by visiting industryhill.com. I just remembered what it is on the 8th.
Oh.
A podcast recording from Yamas.
From Yamas?
Mm-hmm.
Yamas is going to be here on the 8th?
We're going to be at Yamas.
We're going to be at Yamas.
Yeah.
On the 8th.
On the 8th of July. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yamas!
So, while reading that, it popped into my head what it was.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Let me go ahead and put that on the calendar.
Yes,
July
please.
8th.
Yes.
Yes. Adding that now. And speaking of, if you haven't been to Yamas, you really should.
Right. And I want to give a shout out to Yamas because they did sponsor $50 to my summer of burger tours and for gas to get around from place to place. And I really appreciate that.
Yes, very much.
Chris and Zoe and their kids and Jason, everybody over there, they are fantastic folk. And just beyond the food being awesome, they are awesome. So thank you so very much to Yamas for sponsoring this burger tour that I'm doing. They have no dog in that.
No,
fight.
they really don't.
Yes, the family owns Chin Chin, but that's not Yamas.
Right.
Yeah, so.
And they didn't say, here's something to help you out, and if you'll make your way down to Chin Chin.
Yeah, they
never mentioned it.
They actually never mentioned Chin Chin. I mentioned it. They didn't mention it at all. It had nothing to do with that.
But now, that is one of your stops, right?
It will be.
Okay.
It certainly will be.
Yeah.
But again,
should be.
Yamas. Check them out. Yamas!
Yamas!
And we love those guys a lot.
Yes,
so much we're going to do a podcast from there.
That's going to be really cool.
So, Dave Hillman allowed the smoke to clear and gave his explanation of the closing of Uncle Buzzy's. This is after several members of the downtown Winston-Salem page on Facebook went berserk, laying blame, pointing fingers, making waves, and so on. So here are the words of Dave Hillman verbatim.
I love what you're about to read.
Now that I let the dust settle, I think it's time to hear straight from the horse's mouth the reasons that Uncle Buzzy's had officially closed. It's pretty simple, actually. We were unable to gain any traction to make it a profitable business. Let me go on record to state that it was not the Business 40 closing that caused Buzzy's to fail.
Notice Dave said it's not Business 40.
Right. Rather, it was several misguided decisions made by me. I know it's a rarity for most people, but I do take full responsibility for my mistakes. First and foremost, I believe I picked a very poor location. I thought with a very large employer right behind us, the hospital, and a busy traffic count in front of us, First Street, that it was a no-brainer. I was wrong. We had a difficult time getting people to actually stop and get out of their cars to check us out. My second mistake was the business model. I designed this as a takeout restaurant similar to Buzzy's Roast Beef in Boston. The only problem was this city's population and late night business was not quite what you would find in Boston. Been to Boston? I know. This is Tim saying that. Back to Dave. Whoops. If you don't have seating, you darn well better have a drive-through these days.
Yeah.
Strike two. My last major mistake, I believe, has to do with the branding. We build it as a fried food restaurant specializing in carnival fare. In reality, What we specialized in was hot roast beef sandwiches, griddle burgers, Nathan's hot dogs, and fried chicken sandwiches. We did everything large, from scratch, and with a twist. Yes, we had fried foods, but that was only a component of our menu. The carnival fare, things like turkey legs, funnel cakes, and fried Oreos, made up only a small portion of our menu.
That's true.
This was a learning experience and not one to let a bump in the road get me down. Without challenges, what fun would life be? As far as Uncle Buzzy's goes, he's not dead, probably just taking a vacation, something I've been known to do, until another opportunity presents itself. In the meantime, keep an eye on work beginning on the corner of First and Hawthorne. I have big plans for that building. Thanks again for your kind words, mostly, LOL. And keep believing in Winston-Salem. I do.
I love that. He stood up and said, you know what? This was on me.
Yeah.
It was me. We need more people to take responsibility. And he did it very well.
Exactly.
He didn't shift blame anywhere to anybody. And some of the things that, if I were being frank with him, are the things that he had just addressed.
Yep.
Is it, yeah, I recognize. Should have done this a little bit different. The whole thing about the carnival food. I get it that was one of those, hey, this makes us different. This makes us unique. But the first time I walked in and saw the full menu, I thought, this isn't a carnival restaurant at all. This is a restaurant.
Yeah. And I will say that even though I can't now put it on there, if Uncle Buzzy's was still here, it would most likely be in the top 10 of my favorite burgers in town whenever this is all said and done, even now that I can't have one. So now,
he said, pay attention to the building at First and Hawthorne. Which one?
The whole, not First Street Draft House, but the corner building that goes around. That used to be a dance studio, a crematorium, a couple things.
Fiddle and Bow used to be there when 40 ran over the building.
Yeah, and Chester's and all that. Well, he owns that building.
Oh, okay.
So he's going to do stuff. He even tore part of the back of it off to have more parking for Quiet Pint.
Yeah.
So just keep an eye on. I will honestly say I don't know what he's doing. He refused to tell me, but he says just there'll be some big things. So
we'll keep an eye on
I don't know that it has anything to do with Uncle Buzzy's. I just know that it has to do with Dave Hillman, and that's all I know.
And we know he's an entrepreneur.
Yep. Who does food stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
He's got some great properties here in town.
The Hutch and Harris news last week turned out to be a badly executed announcement that they're changing some stuff around. Supposedly a new chef reworking the dining area to bring back what quote-unquote made Hutch and Harris special to begin with, and so on. I don't know what all this means, but someone identifying themselves as a manager or owner told Michael Hastings that this is the case. And that's probably true. But who posted that note on the door, and why did it say due to unforeseen circumstances? If you hired a new chef and are going to redo the place, I'm pretty sure those circumstances were foreseen.
Yeah, you should have known. Oh, we hired this guy. Oh, now we can see.
Yeah, I don't know what happened over there, and I don't want to start any rumors. Just someone basically whispered to me that they cleaned out the staff and were starting over. I don't know, again, what that means. I'm just saying this is what I heard. I'm not pontificating. I'm not speculating. It's, it's not projection or conjecture here. This is just things that were told to me. Could have nothing to do with it whatsoever.
But it might.
So
we'll find out in time.
And if that is the case, I'm pretty sure that was foreseen, right?
You would think. Well, to your point, clearly they didn't go through the marketing manager to say, how's the best way to word this?
Yeah.
Just
close it down and we'll do this stuff. Okay, we're remodeling. We're doing something. Now, I say this because on their Facebook page, it says we are just closing so we can do some renovations and changing. The sidebar will be open normally.
Right.
But the dining room is closed till the beginning of July. So they're not closing. They're not going away. They're just changing, quote unquote, changing what they're doing.
Well, every once in a while, it's a good idea to take a look at what you're doing, see if it's working or not. And if not, drop back 5 yards and say, all right, let's punt figure out how to make this better.
Yeah.
And if that's truly what's happening, hats off to you. Good luck.
Indeed. Yeah.
Let us know what's going on so we can help promote what's new at Hutch and Harris.
Please let us know so we can give facts, and I don't have to try to figure out things on my own, because that won't look as good for you. I don't think so.
Well, and maybe somebody wants to come on the show.
Yes, please.
Come on in here and tell us what's going on. We'd love to talk to you about it. Love to help promote what's happening.
Indeed. Chelsea Tart of Tart Sweets on 5th Street will be opening a new coffee shop, Camel City Coffee, in the old Starbucks location on Oakwood Drive.
I wondered what was going to go in there.
So Starbucks closed that location to move to their new standalone parcel there in Cloverdale Shopping Center.
Right.
The estimated opening time frame is right now August of 2019. From everything I've seen, Chelsea says that they just are kicking butt trying to get everything lined up and ready for them. And I will...
So is it going to be a coffee shop, or is it going to be Sweet Tarts time too?
No, it's a coffee shop. Camel City Coffee will be the coffee shop there. I'm sure they will have some Tart Sweets stuff. But
it does seem like a good combination.
Yeah. So we will see.
Yes.
I hope to have more on that in the future, but I'm just going by what I've seen and read.
You know, if Chelsea wanted to come on here and tell us herself, that would be awesome.
Yes. So
Chelsea.
When I say at the very end here, if you have big news, if you have insights to these people, I'm not going to go and say, hey, you need to come on the show, which I do, but I don't want to do that every guest. I mean, I want people to recommend someone to come on this show. I mean, yes, I can go out and market it, but if you as a listener want to have some of these people come talk to us, I don't know everybody to talk to. So
right. Exactly.
You know,
help us.
Send us an introductory email, or hey, here's somebody's phone number, and they're expecting you, or whatever. You know, the normal referral channels.
Yeah, give us a warm introduction. That would be great, because we're not getting rich off of this.
No, certainly not.
We want to help promote what's happening in our community, and it's best when those folks can speak for themselves.
Yes, because as we will learn in a bit, no one knows your business like you know your business.
That's true. Yeah, we get to get into somebody else's business today.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to that.
Moji Coffee has finally announced an opening date for their location at 690 North Trade Street. Moji Coffee is a nonprofit coffee shop that gives everyone a voice, providing meaningful employment for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, or IDDs. The opening date is officially June 22nd, this Saturday coming.
Nice. Now, where exactly on Trade Street is that?
It's where the old Ember Audio used to be. Basically, the last thing, if you're heading north on Trade Street, the last thing before 7th Street, on the left.
Before
just past
7th Street.
Silverman.
Oh, okay. Yes. I know where you're talking about.
Yeah.
The rescue mission is on the other side of the street.
Yes. And speaking of coffee shops like that, on the 15th of July, we will have Latasha Barr Lewis and her husband Will Lewis on from Cam's Coffee.
Oh, yes.
To talk about Cam's Coffee.
That's great. Oh, that'll be good.
Yes. And they don't call them disabilities. It's differential abilities, or something like that.
Yeah.
They were on a podcast that I produced earlier today. I went to McAnally's for Father's Day brunch. It was Stephanie's and my Father's Day brunch. McAnally's wasn't doing anything special for Father's Day brunch anyway. They did have lunch and dinner specials that were going to honor fathers a little bit later. But I had the biscuits and gravy with the hand-pressed sausage patties and home fries. The sausage gravy was thick and slightly spicy, which was always a good thing. The sausage patties were buried in the gravy as well, so it's like sausage gravy. I really enjoyed it.
That was one of your favorites when you went there for the tasting.
That's exactly why I picked it. It was either between that or the shrimp and grits, and I went with I was just in a biscuits and gravy kind of mood.
You can't go wrong with biscuits and gravy.
No, you
never.
Can't.
Now, you said they didn't
people up north need to know that you can't go wrong with biscuits and gravy, right?
Yes. Now, I have to say, you said there really wasn't anything special going on. Chef Antoine's there.
Oh, yes. And
So
I
that
talked to
is
him.
a special
No,
thing.
what I mean is they didn't have a special brunch menu for Father's Day.
I knew that's what you meant. But I just wanted to point out that he's special.
Yes, you're right. He is. And he came out and talked to us because I sent word by our
To your server.
server. I said, "Is Chef Antoine back there that I hear him yelling?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "Can you tell him to come out here?" And she went back and he said, he wants to know who it is. I said, "Tell him the man who went to town." And I heard, "All right." So
All right,
it was
if it's
cool.
you,
Yeah,
I'll
it was
come out.
cool. Stephanie had the waffle of the day, which was impressive. It was a peanut butter and banana waffle.
I saw the pictures. For
The
that,
waffles, yes, waffles, as in two, were bigger than her face, covered in a peanut butter sauce and topped with bananas. They were sweet, nutty, fluffy, pretty damn good, really. It's
Yeah.
good stuff.
Sweet, nutty, fluffy. Oh, you mean the waffles? I
Yeah.
thought you were describing the BCPF.
Yeah, she's a bit nutty. I tell her, one of my favorite things to tell her is she is nuttier than squirrel poop.
Oh. Okay, you said that. I did not.
I always say that. Chef Antoine was shorthanded, and they were still turning out good food. The servers were really cool, too. They talked to us in regular conversation, so I do recommend that you try Macanelli's for brunch.
Or any other time, but particularly for brunch.
Yes. On Apartment 5B last week, I believe I mentioned it on the Man Away to Town last week, the residents conducted a food experiment. The three of us placed an order each with Mario's Pizza, or as they, because they're both New Yorkers, Mario's Pizza.
Mario's.
Using a different delivery service.
Actually, it is Mario. If you meet him, he introduces himself as Mario.
I believe you.
Yeah, I know.
Because I'm going on that really horrible Japanese stereotype of Italians. It's a Mario. But
Well, it's Mario and Vinny, and both of them just stand-up guys.
not Mario and Luigi.
No, Mario
Gotcha.
and Vinny.
Mario Brothers, yeah.
Yeah, and they really just live out in Louisville, immigrated here from Italy, went to New York, learned the craft of making fine pizza in New York, and then brought that to North Carolina. They've started something like 30 restaurants in the last 30, 40 years. Some of them they've handed off to family members. Some of them they still own. Some have been sold. If you ever get a chance to meet them, you'll really be impressed.
Well, so Jeff Evans ordered a 10-inch The Works pizza from Uber Eats. Rory ordered the fried ravioli and 6 buffalo-style wings through Grubhub. And I ordered the Philly-style cheesecake with fries, a cheese steak.
I was going to say, that's a new one.
Yeah, cheese steak with fries, and I used DoorDash, who I have an account with and I use often. We all hit confirm at the same time, so it was all sent at the same time.
Right.
I predicted that DoorDash would win the race, and I was right. They were first. They said it was a 30-minute wait, the estimated delivery. It came in 20 minutes.
Okay. Ahead of time. That's nice.
Yes. They were first. They actually came into the building to deliver, as they always have in the past. We had the Dasher sit with us. I forget her name offhand. She was blindsided, of course, but she was really cool about it. She's like, I don't know what we're doing, but the cheesesteak was hot and delicious. The fries were cooler and soggy, but that's the nature of fries delivered.
Right.
That happens. Uber Eats was next, and the pizza was okay. They, too, brought the food into the building to our studio. The deliverer was cool, and she was working on an album. So she got to talk to us a little bit about that. The weird part of that, though, was this person had a quote-unquote partner that rode with her. After she was in the studio for a bit, he honked the horn, like a long honk, and then he came in looking for her. Now, Rory swore he was a jealous boyfriend, where Jeff Evans and I thought he was just out of concern. I mean, we're not in the greatest of neighborhoods yet.
Right.
So...
Well, and walked in, didn't... Most deliveries, I'm sure, happen in a 60-second time frame.
Sure.
And how long was she in here? Several minutes?
She was about 2-3 minutes, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what's going on.
Yeah. And that lit up the conversation, of course. But then Grubhub come in last, and they didn't even get out of the car. They sent a text. Rory had to go out into the parking lot, get the food. They wouldn't get out and be on the podcast. They said they don't have time for that. And
Okay.
So, all right. So the fried ravioli was not steaming hot, and the wings were soggy and fatty. The sauce was good, but the wings were just meh. We rated each on a 3-point scale that included promptness, quality of food, and other factors. Of course, DoorDash won, then Uber Eats, and then Grubhub, which, if you need to know, everybody that I talk to that uses Grubhub, like restaurant people, they say it's awful. But DoorDash never gets any complaints, at least that I've heard.
Right.
Uber Eats is hit or miss.
Right.
So I am glad, and I, as the man who went to town, recommend. I'm not endorsed to say this. I'm not paid for this. I recommend DoorDash. Now, this isn't all the.
Now, Wilson, let me ask you, because I don't use a delivery service now. If I'm going to go get something I eat, I just go get it myself, typically.
Yeah.
What is that going to cost me?
Okay, so that varied too for Mario's Pizza, and it varies even within DoorDash. So I can only speak for the DoorDash one.
Right.
It cost me $2.99 delivery. I put a tip on the order, so that was already paid to the driver too. Mm-hmm. But it only cost $2.99. Now, I can order something from somewhere else, and it's $5.99. Still, $5.99 for me not having to walk out of here when I can be prepping for the next show is worth it to me.
I was saying your time is more valuable than the $3 to $6.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the other things we talked about, again, was quality food and how much they paid attention to what we said. Like I said, this isn't all the delivery service's job necessarily. I mean, Mario's Pizza was responsible for the food's quality.
Right.
I feel both Jeff Evans and I ordered our foods with no... Well, I mean, both Jeff Evans and I ordered our food with no mushrooms. My cheesesteak did not have mushrooms, but the pizza did. Jeff does not eat mushrooms, so he did not have any of the pizza. We tried it. It was soggy. And the pizza was the second one to get here 10 minutes after DoorDash had already left.
Wow.
So it was just sitting there, I guess, before someone, because, you have to wait for them to come to you. They're not just sitting there waiting on food generally.
Right.
So all three of us requested paper plates and plasticware. None of them brought paper plates or plasticware. I recommend listening to that episode for the whole review of the food, Mario's, and the delivery services. And I recommend that they actually listen to it.
They listen to this, yeah. A little cross promotion, but for good reason.
Yeah. And you can find those at the tldpodnetwork.com. It's on the Apartment 5B one.
The most recent episode.
The most recent one, yes. Number something. I don't remember what number it was. But
you're supposed to remember every little tidbit of trivial detail.
Yeah, I know. You would think of the 20 podcast episodes I record a week that I would remember something.
You would. Like, we know this is episode 115.
It is. Good observation.
I remembered
if
that.
I didn't write it down, I wouldn't have known that.
I wouldn't have known it if you hadn't said it just a few minutes ago. I knew we were over 100. I remembered that.
Yes, you were here for that.
I was. It was very exciting. Even though I think, the marching band should have been here, and like 20 restaurants serving their favorite entrees and desserts
We should have had the Old Salem band.
That would have been really cool.
Speaking of Old Salem,
let's talk about a little Old Salem.
Let's bring in someone
little connection,
who has history, if you will.
Yeah, nicely said.
That's called a segue in the business. All right, guys, it's time for the section we call Getting in Your Business. And today, we are very honored to have with us, we've talked about him and his establishment for the last 2 weeks. This will be 3 in a row. Yay,
starting a great trend.
And so someone that proves that change can be responsible in the community, someone who can literally trace his roots back to the founding of this town that we live in, and it has a lot of history. So
it's the furthest back anybody I've ever talked to has. So,
probably him too. So, and he showed us a family tree.
That's really cool.
That goes back to 1720, I think he said. So there's history here.
Yes.
But why he's here is just because he's a swell dude, and I'll say it again. I know I've run this in the ground, but he has a beard to die for. And as someone who has a beard that they're proud of,
I'm proud of mine, but it's close.
It is.
This is all I can grow.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our friend, not just our guest, but our friend, Mr. Daniel Butner.
How are we doing today?
Good.
Welcome aboard.
And I don't think I mentioned it, but you are the proprietario of the local Carrabbas here in Winston-Salem.
Yes, I am.
And as I've said in the past, I am not one to harp on chains
At all.
because
You're the anti-chain.
Usually all the money goes back to some corporate office, and they care very little about the quality of the food or what happens they're not involved, or what happens in the restaurant. You have a complaint, they're like, yeah, okay, well, here's the 800 number, call this.
Call somebody in Idaho.
Yeah, and so I won't say that I have totally turned my view on chains, but I have certainly turned my view on Carrabbas, because you have proven all the myths wrong.
Perfect.
And
well done.
I have been there a few times now, and the food was not disappointing. I will say that was probably the best prepared steak, both in preparedness and flavor, that I can remember ever having.
Great.
So it just I can harp here, but
we can continue to gush. Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But let's let him talk.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm good with the gush.
But Daniel, tell us, how did you get into the Carrabba's family?
Well, it's kind of funny because my wife and I was a plumber for many years, and when the market kind of went sour on new houses being built and everything, I looked at my wife and I'm like, the jobs are getting few and far between. Let's just go somewhere nice and eat. And she's like, where do you want to go? I was like, let's go somewhere I've never been. It's like, how about that building with the trees on the roof? I don't know what it's about. So, I walk
that Mexican place.
right. And I walk in the building, and as soon as I walk in, everybody's kind of, stopping, looking, saying hello, just like a real big warm hug when you walk in. It felt like I went out to eat, but ended up back at my living room somehow.
Yeah,
it was crazy. So we got sat. And the waitress that I had was dating one of the guys that worked in the kitchen. I'd never eaten there. And, it's something about me when I have never eaten anywhere, rather than looking at the menu and trying to figure everything out. I always ask the wait staff, it's like, what do you like? So she's like, you should try the pasta wheezy. And I tried it, and it's like, I can still remember the perfect sear of the shrimp, the tanginess of the lemon butter, the creaminess out of the Alfredo. And then, I can taste it right now when I'm talking about it. And so long story short is, I looked at my wife in the middle of the meal, and I'm like, I want to own a restaurant like this. That was in January 10 years ago. And then next thing you know, here I am. The guy in the kitchen and the lady that waited on me, Ashley and Yvonne, they ended up getting married, and now she no longer works for me, although I seen her last night and was all good. But her husband is now my kitchen manager, so it's kind of, a long roundabout circle.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the how I got there.
So it's kind of like that. Was it the guy who Remington Microblades? He liked it so much he bought the company.
Kind of, but on a smaller level. Yes.
Yeah.
You didn't buy all of Carrabba's.
Right.
Just
right.
one.
Just one.
So when did you actually get
in?
in?
Okay. So, well, you want the short description, the long description instead of the short one. Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so I started.
We have time.
Right,
It is
okay.
getting into your business. So
Right, good point.
I told you.
So I started, that January 26th, and I worked there for about 6 months, and I worked for Kirk Dockery. And, he kind of enjoyed what I was doing, and he's like, hey, would you like to be a bartender? I'm like, sure, I'd love to, make drinks, make people happy. It's two things I enjoy doing. Except usually I like making the drinks for me, but
Yeah.
so I did that for a little while.
Well, the good news with that is if you enjoy the drinks, then other people probably will too.
Exactly. And so I did that for a little while, and it's about a year passes, and he's like, have you ever thought about becoming a manager? I'm like, so what do you do? And he's like, well, you just make sure everything's good and make sure people are happy. I'm like, dude, I love making people happy and making sure everything's good. This place runs like a top. That's easy. So I was like, sure. So he made me an hourly manager for a little while, for about a year. And then I got promotion and became full-fledged manager, the manager card, all the, little card up front that says I'm a manager. So,
Yeah.
I made it big. So we worked together for a few years, and then I went to Greensboro, and, he had the opportunity to move somewhere else. And it was in November 3 years ago that the joint venture partner came in to Greensboro where I was working, and he's like, hey, man, I got to talk to you. I'm like, okay. He's like, I got a question for you. I'm like, shoot. He said, I've got a store opening up. Well, me and Kirk's buddies. I already knew what he was talking about, so I'm just kind of trying to play it cool. And he's like, I know that you want a store, and I know you want Winston. He's like, what's happening? You can have Winston if you want it. This is just an offer. And I looked at him. I'm like, so you're telling me I get to work for the company that I love running a store in the town that I live for? He's like, yeah. I'm like, and you really drove all the way down here to ask me that?
You could have just called me on the phone for that.
Courtesy. Do it face to face.
So, whenever you make big job moves, you should call your significant other. So I called my wife and said, hey, honey, I just got an offer on a job. She's like, where do they want you to go? I'm like, Winston. She's like, get out of here. So she's like, well, what did you say? I was like, well, I told him I had to talk to you. And she started laughing. So yeah, she knew I took it.
Yeah. You had already talked about it, so you already knew.
Yeah, I already knew. But yeah, that's pretty much how I got where I'm at. So it's a lot of hard work.
So you didn't just walk in and buy the place. You worked your way up through the rank.
I don't know of anybody that has. You have to prove yourself as, we call a Carrabba Miko, and you have to prove yourself as, living the principles and beliefs of the company and, trying to be a good person and get out and do the things that you should be doing. That's one of the things they look for in partners to become a partner.
So part of that's getting out, networking, finding out what's going on in the community.
Yeah, opening your eyes, opening your ears, seeing what's going on, seeing how you can help, seeing how you can make a difference. That's one of the fundamentals. It's like I tell everybody all the time. They're like, oh, what chain do you belong? I was like, I'm not a chain. I'm just a family restaurant that got big. That's Johnny and Damien's. They live and breathe this in their hometown. Johnny still works in his restaurant every day. Rosie works in hers every day. And they're always out trying to build their community. And it's what you need to do.
Generally, what I expect to hear from somebody who has a franchise restaurant is, how do we maximize profit? And that's not your primary focus.
No. Making people happy maximizes your profit.
True.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you take care of people, you give people what they want, you treat people with kindness and respect, and everything else will fall into place.
Funny thing about that.
It's really funny.
Yeah. Works every time.
And selling happiness
Yeah.
is what you do. People, as a foodie, someone who loves food, I'm happy when I'm eating good food. Mm-hmm. I am less happy when I'm eating crap.
Right.
And
we were really happy.
We
the
were
night
ecstatic leaving Carrabba.
So could you imagine that, the happiness level that you would have if every day when you woke up that you knew that most likely you'd be eating at Carrabba's. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. You know
Feet
that
hit
you're going
the
to have
floor?
dinner there every night.
Right.
Feet hit the floor, in the shower, smiling already.
Ooh, I get to go to Carrabba's for dinner. All right. Yeah. You're right. Knowing that there's a great meal ahead of you in a day is a great inspiration to keep moving.
You know, fortunately for me, I've got a lot of friends in town that actually own restaurants, and I frequent them, so I have multiple great meals in a day.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this too, and on this show we always know that when I'm talking Italian is Delicios.
Mm-hmm.
The Delicios is what I say my go-to Italian.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a difference, as you said, between an Italian restaurant, which you love those too,
Yeah.
and an Italian grill, which is a completely different concept.
Yeah.
What does that look like for Carrabba's? How's that different?
Well, you know, the grill is like, you know, one of the fundamentals of our restaurant. You know, fresh sauteed pasta, made from scratch food, and, you know, the wood-fired grill. We use an oak and hickory underneath our grill to really bring some subtle flavors into it. And, I mean, it's our grill seasoning, you know, our grill base. It just brings everything together in such a perfect way that our steaks, our pork chops. I mean, you know, I tell everybody when they come in and they get a pork chop, I'm like, it's best in town. They're like, are you sure? I'm like, well, if you know some word, let me know. I love pork chops.
Yeah.
I want to try it too,
that.
you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I never, you know, I walk back by and they're like, you're right, you know. But it's
That's one thing we didn't have. Now I've got to go back and try the pork chops.
You're welcome. but you know,
That's called marketing.
Yeah.
the wood-fired grill is really where it's at, and you know, in order for everything to work out, you know, like we said, we got the family recipe grill seasoning, the family recipe grill base. You know, we make it from scratch in the restaurant, and you know, then you got to have somebody that puts their heart and soul in the grill. You know, so if you really look at the people, always make the difference. But where our items come off, you know, our chicken brine's phenomenal. That's
Yes, it is.
it's named after Bryan, Texas. That's where they came from, Italy, and they settled in Bryan, Texas as cotton farmers. And you know, Houston, you know, Texas is hot.
Yeah.
And cotton farming was hard, so they branched into the grocery business. But Bryan, Texas, you know, the chicken brine pays homage to them coming to Texas. You know, all of our recipes, all of our menu items has that story. You know, well, not that story, because that would be
But
weird.
a story.
Everything, yeah, all of them. But yeah, the wood fire grill. You know, our salmon, we cook it there. You know, salmon, mahi. You had the mahi.
We had the mahi, and I have to say, it's some of the best mahi I've ever had.
Yeah, that was the wolf. You know, that was Mama Mandola's breadcrumbs, the artichoke hearts, the lemon butter, the basil. It's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah.
And whenever I see it coming on the menu, I'm like, yes.
I said to Tim, I think it was my second favorite. And he's like, all right, so what was your favorite? It was like, well, my dad and I went out fishing and we caught a big mess of mahi, brought it home and grilled them, and it was amazing. He's like, so was it the taste of the food or the experience?
Yeah, I can't compete with that experience.
Oh, yeah. You know, I hadn't thought of it in those terms. So if I'm going just taste, you win.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you. But yeah, so that's pretty much,
Your Carrabba story.
well, yeah, the wood-fired grill.
Yeah. So let's talk a minute about your community involvement, because you're very big on that. You have a wall when you walk in the vestibule. There's basically,
That's inside the front door for those who don't use big words.
yeah, right. Yeah, my college education's coming.
It's the first thing you see when you walk in,
Yeah.
Yes.
intentionally.
Yes.
Because you're breaking the rules of chains.
Okay.
But not breaking Carrabba's rules. You're doing exactly what that family says. This is what we should do.
Exactly. And you know, the thing about that, the photos on that wall, if I was to go through my phone and show you the photos that I have of the different events and then have conversations with you about the different events that I did, we would be ending this podcast in probably a week and a half.
Yeah.
Because it took me 5 days and about 6 different opinions from people to get exactly the pictures that I wanted to say exactly, what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's all of them. I mean, there's an event we're doing with bookmarks on there, an event we're doing with Aperture, the MS Society, Carolina Cognitive Care, and I mean, the list goes on and on. Red Cross feeding the volunteers for the hurricane, even fed the Florida Department of Health came up to take care of the people that were put out from their houses and stayed at the Joel Coliseum. We took care of them. I mean, it's they're taking care of people, we're taking care of them. It's the thing is so many people look at things and they think one person can't make a difference. Well, they're absolutely right. But the biggest deal, if you're going to do right and to just do right as much as you can and help as much as you can and hope that other people are doing the same thing, that's what makes the difference. Mm-hmm. And you gotta fight your inner self saying you can't. That's the hard part.
Even one act of kindness is valuable.
Incredibly. And I mean, if hopefully people follow suit and do, the same thing, but if they don't, you still made a little difference.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's to me, it's whenever you're looking at, when you go to do the events, I really get, and I probably shouldn't, but I really do. And whenever I do an event, I get fully involved in it and I try to completely understand what they want. If I can understand what they want or what they need to accomplish, rather than what they want actually, then I can get in there and I can better help them because I know what they need and I know what I need to do in order to get the best out of it. Because I mean, sometimes they just need somebody to come in and say, hey, we're doing this, and that brings people in. But sometimes, they really need somebody to talk to somebody about something, and then you get to meet the different people that's, in the different situations, and I mean, you should go to like one of the events with me, and if you don't get emotional in the middle of doing it and seeing the joy and happiness that different people have, it's something else.
And you care also, which I mentioned before, you care about the people in your restaurant.
Absolutely.
They're your family, basically. Yes. And you were mentioning something I overheard in a conversation with Paul Jones and Michael Hastings about if your executive chef their kid had a soccer game.
Well, I'll give you a little example.
Okay.
My AKM Richie Gonzalez, he works for me. He does a lot. He's really solid. He's there all the time. Cristiano joined us on February 14th this year.
Oh, your Valentine's gift.
Yeah. Do you know what February 14th is? It's known as the busiest day in a restaurant.
Yeah.
We worked it out to where he was able to spend that day off. And I mean, he's A+ player. He's vital to my kitchen. Mm-hmm. I have to have him, especially on a busy day like that. Well, that morning he called and said his wife was going into labor. And I was like, call me when she has the baby. He's like, what? I was like, don't come in here. We'll figure it out. So me, Sam, and Sam's my assistant. We figured it out. We jumped together. We did what we had to do, and we gave him the opportunity to hang out with his wife while she had his son. But that's important to me. I'd rather, work is work. You have to do, but sometimes being at work, people turn it into a job. It's only a job if you allow it to be a job.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're coming in to throw a party, you come in and throw a party, you have a good time. If you ask my people when I have to come on the line, and I'm having fun. That's what it's about. We're making great food. We're having fun. We're loving it. We're smiling. We're happy, because at the end of the day, that turns an 8 to 12 hour day into like 3 to 4 hours. Like, oh, exactly. Wow, we're already done.
Yeah.
Well, and I think one of the things that I've come to understand doing this work with Tim is that that makes a difference in the taste of my food. The love that you put into it literally translates into better food.
Absolutely. I mean, when you were growing up, do you remember, your mom or grandma baking a cake when they were mad?
Not generally.
Yeah. So, I mean, and they always taste great, right?
Yeah.
So when they're happy, they're baking great cakes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's one of the things that the folks that we've talked to, the ones that are doing the best work, I think it's very consistent that we see that they are pouring their passion, their love for what they do and for the people that they're doing it for into what comes out. So yeah, y'all put a ton of love on the table that night we were there.
Mm-hmm.
They did.
Were you this involved with the community prior to being with Carrabba's?
I didn't realize I could be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Remember how I said, one person, if you don't think you can make a difference, you end up sitting on the couch watching TV. And granted, I was a plumber and I did work about, 90, 95 hours a week. It's construction's tough. I respect everybody out there that's doing it, and I didn't realize how tough it was until I got out of it.
Well, and if somebody's having a big fundraising event for, any of the groups that you're working with, they don't call the plumber first.
No, they call me. Yeah. Sometimes, it's kind of funny because I kind of know I have my regulars, so to speak.
Right.
And I have regulars and everything, and I know about when their event's coming up. So I'm like, I need to email Wes real quick because we got the Young Life coming up, and I need to reach out and see what they think their numbers are going to be this year, and make sure that he knows that he needs to tell me, at the appropriate time, and so we can make this happen. So if you ever do an event, when you're coordinating the event, everything you have to do takes forever. Whenever I'm doing this and I'm trying to help them out, if they have to tell me everything I have to do, that adds stuff to their plate.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what I do is I tell them, I'm like, this is what I need, and this, I will take care of this, and this. And I give them a list, send it in an email. They know everything. They know exactly what I'm doing. If something's not right or I'm thinking about something, then I call them and say, hey, I need to change this because of this, but we're good for this, and I'll see you at this time. And, it's totally keeping them involved and knowing what it is, and sometimes you got to reach out and remind them that they're doing something,
Yeah.
So,
But you're taking that load off of their plate.
Absolutely. They have enough to do.
Right. I think it's interesting, having been in sales for a very long time, what you're talking about is what most people would say is your sales strategy. Mm-hmm. Oh, this group did this event at this time last year. I know they're going to do it again this year, so let me reach out in an effort to make sure I'm clawing that business to me. But what I'm hearing you say is, oh, my friend's going to be doing this thing next month, and I need to, let's make sure that doesn't fall through the cracks for him.
Yeah.
You're not looking at it from the revenue perspective. You're looking at it from, that's my friend, these are my people, and I want to take care of them.
Right.
The community.
Yeah.
Because remember I said take care of the people, everything else takes care of it.
Yeah, I'm just pointing that out, that
Okay.
I see that consistently in what you're saying, whether you recognize that's what you're doing or not.
I'm just talking right now.
Yeah. Yeah, but I love where you're coming from.
Yeah. It's, I didn't really look at it like that, but it sounds pretty good too.
Well, having been that salesperson and having had sales management calling me up going, okay, what are your numbers going to look like in the next 10 seconds? Forget the right end of the week. It's Monday. What did you do for me in the last 5 minutes?
Yeah.
I don't hear that pressure translating down from the family, and I don't hear that as your primary drive.
Mm.
The money will take care of itself. If you take care of everybody, everything else will fall into place.
I mean, we still have to look at the money and
you
make
look
sure.
at it.
Yeah.
But is that the primary purpose?
It doesn't
the
rule
primary driver?
It doesn't rule me.
Yeah.
So money's nice, but it's happiness is nicer.
Yeah. Well, it's what you had said to us, that your chef taking that time off was more valuable to you
Yeah.
than having him there.
I mean,
Because, to miss a birth, to be at work, and it was Valentine's. If there was a day that you could say, man, I gotta have you. If it were March 3rd, it'd be like, yeah, whatever. It's March 3rd.
I mean, I think I did say I got to have you, but I can't have you in here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think for a minute if he showed up, I'd kick him out. But
Right. But you knew where he needed to be.
he needed to be there.
His head wouldn't have been there anyway.
Nah. Well, his head wouldn't have been there, but he's still probably done better than me. But
Yes.
Some people are just that good.
Yes, and at the same point, you didn't want to take that from him.
no.
Then it becomes a job.
Right. And you can't take things from people. You just can't.
Because then at that point, you're dictating that it's a job
Right.
and not a way of life.
Well, now it's master-servant relationship.
Well, it's more like, how I look at it. My people take pride in what they do. And if they're forced to do something, how much pride is that?
Yeah.
And I mean, not saying that they don't have to do things, but knowing what they have to do and wanting to do the right thing and doing the right thing because it is the right thing is far more valuable to me than me preaching to them all the time, telling them what the right thing is.
Yeah.
What's that old phrase from Dale Carnegie? You give people a good reputation to live up to.
Yeah,
And they want to live up to that.
absolutely. And I mean, it's at the end of the day, if you go through our principles and beliefs, you can read every one of them. I should give you a copy just because it's basically when I came to Carrabba's, I got the principles and beliefs, and I'd never served in a restaurant, never waited on a table. I can plumb one from top to bottom. I mean, maybe while I'm even taking a nap, it's so done so many of them. But working on that side of it, I'm like, I actually have to talk to people now.
Yeah.
Which I enjoy talking to people, but as a plumber, you're just in your own little world doing whatever, listening to the radio, blasting, saying it's hot or cold, and then you move on. But the principles and beliefs were basically my guidance. And, the sequence of service, the principles and beliefs, because I was told by my trainers, like, if you live these, everything will be okay. And I'm like, wait, you just give me the secret to being successful in a restaurant? I'm sitting here thinking, I was totally mind blown. But I read those and I followed those, and, I tried to live them as much as I could. And, the thing about it is, if you keep trying, you keep getting better.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, I'm still not where I should be as far as the principles and beliefs going, but I'm working hard on getting there every day.
You're further ahead than you were years ago.
Way.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's basically, the living the P's and B's is basically what I think that has made me where I'm at, not only at Carrabba's, but, in life where I'm at. And I know that sounds crazy, coming from, a corporate restaurant, but in the principles and beliefs, it's the very last page where it talks about sales. The very first thing we talk about is people. The entire way we're talking about people. People are the reason. People are the difference. You think who works for you? People. Who comes to eat with you? People. It's like
Who comes back?
Who brings you your food? People. It's endless. Your guys fixing your coolers. People. Your guys doing your fire alarms. People. Everything comes back to people. Some money goes out, some money comes in. But we try to be as responsible as we can, and sometimes people look at it as being responsible in the community. Sometimes it's not money. Sometimes it's time.
Yeah. Time is valuable.
Sometimes it's sitting down with somebody and having a conversation. And sometimes it's and this is always a hard one for me, but the other night I was talking to a guy. He's actually more famous than he realized after I Googled him when he left, because he said Google me, just not saying that, but come to find out, he was a football player from a long time ago, and I was talking to him, and he stopped and he said, forgive me if I forgot your name. I took a lot of hits in college. I'm like, It's no problem. It took me 3 years to remember my name. I don't expect you to get it in 3 minutes, you know. And basically this come because, you know, he didn't really like a dish that he got.
Okay.
So I went over to sit down, you know, I went over to sit down and talk to him and see what he didn't like about it, see which way I could direct him into getting something he loves. I mean, you know, because, you know, everything's not for everybody. You know, we'll get you something that you love. It's pretty easy. And so we were sitting there talking, and he started going into, you know, his college career in football, and was talking about how he took a lot of, you know, hits. He was a wide receiver. They get hit a lot.
They sure do.
You know, back in the 70s and 80s, we didn't really watch for concussions like we do now.
Right.
You know, I mean, you get your bell rung pretty good and back out the next play. You know, been there, done that.
Yeah, me too.
And, you know, so he gets to talking about this, and I'm listening to him, and then all of a sudden, you know, Carolina Cognitive Care, they deal with that stuff. So, you know, and at the end of the conversation, he said, you know, you're special. I'm like, I appreciate that. He said, you know, I've been to many places, I've done many things, and, you know, the food was great. I didn't like it. And you took the time to walk over here, sit down and talk to me. He said, I appreciate that. I'm like, well, good. I was like, well, I appreciate something if you did it for me. He's like, what's that? I was like, call this person, talk to them. They may be able to help you. Yeah, but it's that realness that you get into when you meet those people.
Yeah.
And you get to whenever you're working with this group, and you know what they're about, and you know where their heart is, and you know what they want to do, then, you know, if you get the opportunity to give somebody, you know, an opportunity they might not have, then to me, that's everything.
Yeah.
I know that sounds weird, but.
No. In all my years of doing sales, I can't tell you how many times folks would open up and start sharing about what they're experiencing personally. And at the end of the day, those were the sales calls that meant the most to me, that stick with me. Because then it became a relationship. It wasn't just, all right, I'm here and you signed and now we've got a business relationship. It was, yeah, all right, I get it on a personal level. This is what you're struggling with, and I've struggled with that too. And, you know, being able to say, yeah, you know what, go over here. This is another friend of mine that what they do is what you need. So y'all connect.
Yeah.
And being able to make those kind of connections too. I mean, the restaurant's happening in the background while your conversation with him was happening at the table. The business took care of itself.
It was happening in the foreground.
Was it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had my eye on it.
Right.
I didn't have
But you were focused on the conversation first and foremost.
Absolutely.
He had your full attention.
Yes. It was just me and him sitting there having a real conversation.
Yeah.
And you know, that's the thing I really love about my job, is the connections, the real conversations. You know, because hey, how you doing tonight? That's kind of neat, isn't it? You love to hear that when you go to a restaurant.
Yeah.
You know, but it's much neater if you go by and say, hey, Ray, how's everything? You know, kids doing great. You know.
Now it's personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's because when you come in and eat, I know your food's great. If you're not, when I walk up to the table, the first thing you're going to tell me is it's not.
Right.
I mean, you know, and some people's like, you never ask us if we have a problem. And I'm like, well, I'm looking at you and you're smiling.
And your plate's almost clean. So,
so I mean, you know, if you have a problem, you know,
speak up.
And absolutely, you know, if you have a problem, please let me know. I want to know. That's how things get fixed.
Right.
You know, I mean, and it happens everywhere. You know, we just want to make sure that, you know, 110% of the people walk out of my place happy.
I like that it's 110% of the people walking out, they're going to be happy.
Absolutely. I mean, that's staff, everybody.
Yeah.
If you're a vendor coming in, I want you happier when you're leaving than when you come in.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, it's the guy cleaning the beer lines, whatever. You know, I kid and joke with him every Tuesday.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it does make a difference. What we put out into the world, I believe, is what we're going to get back. And when we're putting out kindness and love and generosity, those things return.
Every time. Every time.
And it may not return monetarily, but it'll return in more kindness and generosity and love for you.
Let's switch gears.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your family history, because I know you're very proud of that too, and your family's role in this city's history.
So, in 1752, it was a group of guys that made their way from Pennsylvania down to what's Butner now. The first thing they did is it took them about 10 days to build a bread oven. They started making the bread and everything, and they figured out that a guy by the name of Adam Butner was better at making bread, or the bread was more edible. However you want to look at it, is better at making bread than everybody else. So he became the master baker of Butner, all 8 of those guys. He's making the bread for them. They're clearing land to build the fields, still hadn't made a place to stay or anything. And eventually they get to the point where they go back to Moravia to get their families and bring them back down. Now this whole time they're looking for the perfect settlement. And eventually they found it, at what we call Old Salem, but then it was Salem.
Yeah.
It wasn't old yet.
Yeah, it was brand new.
Brand new Salem.
Yeah.
But, so whenever they built Salem, they needed a bread maker. So Adam, being the longest bread maker at Butner, they moved him over to, Salem to become the bread maker. Well, his son, Thomas, also my grandfather, built the bakery that exists right now, that's Winkler Bakery, but it was obviously Butner Bakery at that time. And he built it in 1799 and ran it till 1807. Now, he left and came back and actually was a cobbler in Salem for a little while as well. And then my next grandfather was a blacksmith in Butner. And then it just, with preachers, carpenters. My dad and his brothers built, you drive by something they built every single day. You ever eat at Ryan's Steakhouse?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You like the patio?
Yeah.
And all the woodwork inside?
It's beautiful.
It's my dad's.
Okay.
Wow.
So, it's whenever I go there, and I see the different things that my family's done, and, the little, the 22.5 degrees on the window trims,
Mm-hmm.
that's like my dad's favorite window trim, so, I see that. I get a little bit giddy and emotional, and, it's like, oh man, this is awesome. But when I was about 10 or 11 years old when him and his brothers built the deck and did all the wood trim inside. So, that was kind of neat to go in. You walk into a room and you see wood from floor to ceiling, can barely walk around it. But back to my ancestors. But their whole goal when they moved here from Moravia was not to, from Pennsylvania, was not to come down here and build a little bitty community for 8 guys to hang out like a fishing trip.
Yeah.
The thing about the day then, they were always in the quest for the best place. So, I'm 9 generations here. So I think my family found the best place for me.
Yeah.
And they, my grandfather, Adam, my first grandfather, Adam Butner, laid some of the stones in the original bakery. So, my family's been building things here since the day it was come. So it's kind of like my duty to continue that.
So what relation is the Butner Hat Shop?
The Butner Hat Shop, Adam Butner was actually the guy that ran the tavern, and then he became the hat shop. He was Thomas's brother.
Okay.
So he would have been funny. I have a gentleman that comes to my restaurant. He lives out toward Clemens, and that's where our line splits. So he's my 8th cousins.
Okay.
It's kind of funny. It's like, we were talking, and he was saying, well, he came from Adam Butner. I was like, yeah, we all did. He's like, no, the second one. I was like, oh, okay, the hat shop. He's like, yeah. And, you know, so we got into a conversation. I was like, you do know that makes us eighth cousins. He's like, how in the world do you know that? I was like, well, I'm ninth generation, you know, so it's kind of easy. You know, that's where it come to.
Yeah.
But, you know, and it's kind of funny because most of the time when I see people, they break off at the Jacob and Herman and Heinrich over at Bethabara.
Yeah.
That's where most of my family splits. And, you know, so it's kind of interesting. You know, a lot of times people will come into restaurants like, Butner, do you know such and such Butner? I'm like, no, but I know they're related. They're like, how do you know you're related? I was like, well, we've been here for 9 generations. We're pretty deep.
Well, I asked you that. I had a friend, Sarah. That, you know, she's like you. She's like, you know, my family started this and all this other stuff. So you said you think you're like 6th cousins or something like that.
I think I'd have to see where her. Well, she's a Butner, so her dad's a Butner. So if her dad's a Butner, and obviously, well, everybody back's a Butner, should be pretty easy to figure out if I could figure out which line, who her grandfather was.
Okay.
If I could figure out her grandfather, I might be able to figure it out. Maybe great grandfather. I'm not sure. It's tough. Now the funny thing is you say that in my the history of this town and you know the love for family goes back as far as I can remember. When I was a kid, I had the fortunate ability of my grandfather living in the house with us, and before he lived there, May 21st, 1977, he gave a book of a family tree to my dad. And he went through the archives and he put all this on, you know, those little typewriters you click and it dings, you got 5 more letters and you had to push it back.
Yeah.
Well, he did all this on carbon paper. And, you know, I mean, it goes back to 1696. You know, Martin Hooser in Germany came to America. And, you know, it's just, wow. It's different things because my grandfather's wife was a Hooser, so that's where that comes from. And you know, it's kind of funny because every time I think of my grandmother, my grandmother was a Ryerson. I'm sorry, but her dad, her mom was a Hooser, and so every time I think about it, my great aunt and uncle owned a restaurant when I was growing up as a Palarosa, and you know there were Ryersons and you know that was my grandmother's brother. And we'd always go over there on Sundays, and you know, it's like somebody asked me my first experience in a commercial kitchen. I was like, was when I was running through stealing a biscuit and Ruth chasing me out with a wooden spoon. You know, that was my first experience in the kitchen. Yeah, so,
good memories.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of funny, but you know, just to see this where my grandfather went through all this, you know, the Longs, the Davises, and everything, and you know, he took the time to go down to the archives, and you know the family being Moravian really benefits me for, you know, I can go back and figure out
great records keepers.
I can figure out what day they had like 32 sniffles. You know, I mean they kept so much information about.
So her great grandfather was Albert Israel Butner.
Out comes the family tree.
I've heard that name.
So we know we're looking at the big chart, the big family.
Yeah, we've got a ton of. Is there a great grandfather?
Yeah.
Huh. All right, have to go back more. That's all she's got. But most of the families have different family names. So.
Okay.
But my grandfather only had 11 in his family, and my dad only had 11 in his, so it was a little tough.
11 kids?
Yeah.
I thought we were big with 4. And, you know, I'm the oldest of 4. Of course, you know, I had 1.
That's how many I had.
I struck perfection with the first one. Didn't need to do another one.
Well, you know, a lot of people's like, man, they had really big families back in the day. Well, they didn't have tractors.
Right.
So,
Grab a hold. Pull.
yeah. So I mean, you know,
And baseball hadn't been invented yet. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there you've got a team. And a sub.
yeah.
And a couple of backup
Yeah.
relief pitchers.
Exactly.
Well, where can they find your Carrabbas? What's the address?
I'm at 587 South Stratford Road, and we've got a lot going on. We always have something. Right now, one of the things that we're featuring is bring homemade home. You know, like I showed you that our sauces are made in house. Most of our desserts are made in house. You know, I mean, we make mostly everything we can in house. So it is bring homemade home because we're making it at my house, basically.
Yeah.
And so you come in and you buy an entree, and then just for like $10, you can take the same entree or one of lesser value home with you. I mean, it's kind of a crazy deal. And also, you know, if you're sitting at home and you're like, man, I really would like this food, starting at 4:00, call us. We deliver. You know, so I mean, we have a delivery area. We bring it to your house, so you don't have to do anything. And then
And I don't have to call one of those other services. I just call y'all.
I like to know who's coming to your house.
Yeah.
I mean, and not I employ these people. I talk to these people. I hire these people. These people are good people that bring your food.
Yes.
I know that for a fact. You know, so I mean, I don't have to worry about anything like that. I know the food. I know the food is coming to your house like I intend for it to. I mean, you know, we don't use second party just for that reason. You know, because I mean, you're not like when your food leaves Carrabba's is coming to your house. I don't have to stop by Krispy Kreme or Dunkin' Donuts. Now on the way back, I might stop by Krispy Kreme.
Yeah.
But
that's on
for
your
me.
time.
That's for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not fourth in line.
No.
It's from your door to my door.
Right. From my kitchen to yours. So
awesome.
And
Your kitchen to my table.
exactly. That makes it easier.
Yeah.
You don't have to. And summertime's really hot, so you shouldn't turn your stove on because you're just adding heat for your, you know, air conditioner to
See,
cool.
even there, it's all about you and your electric bill. I'm trying to save you money.
Exactly. We do full service catering. You know, we love feeding businesses while they're trying to get some work done. You know, I mean, nothing boosts morale like a chicken marsala, in my opinion.
Love. I'm real curious now to try your chicken marsala.
It's really good.
I know it has to be.
But you know, monthly we do this thing. It's a wine dinner, and you were the first podcast you did with me all over it was from that wine dinner.
Yes.
And you know, it's usually a 4-course meal with 4 wines. You won't leave hungry. We make sure of that.
If you leave hungry, it's on you.
Yeah. Tomorrow, well, I would say tomorrow night, but depending on when you're listening to this. So June 18th is Tuesday, and we're having our wine dinner for this month. And the following Tuesday, we're doing the same wine dinner. I had enough people. I'm kind of funny, you know. I had a lot of people come, and I felt like that I didn't have enough time to talk to them to my enjoyment, and I felt like it wasn't as good, so I wanted to have 2. Like
Spread it out.
back-to-back weeks, and I tell people whenever we're doing the wine dinners, I'm like, if you want to come to a wine dinner and you want to talk to me a lot, sign up for the one with the least number of people. But if you don't want to have to talk to me much, sign up for the one with the most. You know, it's but the funny part is it's kind of even, so I feel pretty good about myself.
Well, that's good. That's good. So you've got one coming up for July?
July's a pretty special one, and I don't want to give any. You know, we're going to start promoting it probably tomorrow, but you know, we're having it on the same day as the Apollo 11 50th anniversary. It'll be on a Tuesday.
The launch.
Yeah, the 16th. The Tuesday, July 16th.
Yeah.
And the following one will be the next Tuesday, which will be, where did it go? The 23rd. This one, I'm a big space geek. I love space. It's one of my favorite things.
The final frontier.
Right. I'll go out in the backyard. Jupiter's coming up extra early now, so I don't have to stay up as late to watch it. And so my plan is to, during the wine dinner, we're gonna have something special going on that's kind of intriguing and fun. And then after the wine dinner, I plan on bringing a couple of my telescopes and setting them up outside. And unfortunately, the moon won't be up early enough, but if you want to stay around long enough, we'll look at it. We're going to look at Jupiter and probably some galaxies.
Oh.
After the wine dinner. So it's
From Carrabba's.
in my parking lot.
Wow. Does the city light not interfere enough with that you can still get a good image?
Jupiter's close enough and bright enough that, you do have noise, light noise, but you can get a decent view. I mean, have you ever seen Jupiter through a telescope?
No.
It'll be better than you've ever seen it through a telescope. So that's
fair enough.
And I mean, it's kind of funny because when I was younger, I was really into astronomy, and I never seen a planet through a telescope. And last year my wife wanted a telescope for her birthday, so I got her one. It's like, man, I can't believe you want this, and I'm like, yes, So I got her one, and like that night, I went out and I seen Jupiter. So I'm like, really? So all these years and I've never. But so it's kind of neat. And the other night I was looking at Jupiter and Saturn, and my neighbor's daughter's 4 years old, and she was outside. So I ran over there. I'm like, hey. She's like, what? I was like, you ever seen the moon up close? She's like, no. I'm like, well, come on. So she come over, and she's looking at all this stuff, and she's just like in awe because she's never seen it. So I mean,
who knows what you just sparked?
Yeah, I enjoy that. That's so the wine dinners are really special. We try to. They happen at 6:30 on the third and fourth Tuesday. Usually, go to Carrabba's.com. You can see it. It's I love them. It's special. It's we bring foods that we don't always have in, and we'll bring in some big wines. Tomorrow night's ribeyes.
Oh,
that's the main entree.
Ow. I can smell him cooking right now.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
Got anything else to share with us?
I believe I'm good.
You didn't bring the desserts with you.
Nah.
I was kind of hoping.
I thought about it, but
You need you to get them back in the restaurant.
I was going to say, I'm going to have to go. I'll have to go again. And bring friends.
absolutely.
Well, Daniel, thank you so much for coming by and talking with us. And on a side note, I want to say thank you, for the latest burger that I had that was not Waffle House or my house, because I worked late Saturday and had to have something. And my wife allowed me to have some of our Beeman burgers for
nice.
For Father's Day.
Nice.
My son made them for me. But,
Awesome.
But the last one was King's Crab Shack, and it was on their cornmeal dusted onion roll.
Yes.
Oh, now which location?
We went to the Haynes Mall one.
Okay.
Yeah.
The downtown feels like it's just got a little more character to it, but they can get a lot more folks into the one at Haynes Mall.
Well, that, and it's close to.
It is closer.
Yeah. It's
So-
closer to work.
Yeah.
Not easier, because Stratford Road's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Stratford Road has been tough. I mean, I moved here in '88.
Yeah.
It's been tough since before then.
Right. It was tough when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So,
And yet it continues to thrive.
Yeah.
Great
absolutely.
cruising spot when you were a kid, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I
Yes.
can imagine so.
It
I
used-
remember when the world stopped at Putt Putt
Oh,
And Burger King,
and Burger King.
Yeah.
yeah.
which
Burger
is
King
now
and Putt-
Sakura.
Sakura, yeah.
So that was the drag strip then.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was in the top 5 cruising strips in the country.
Wow.
Yeah. At one time.
See, I grew up in Gatlinburg, and folks would cruise the Gatlinburg Strip.
It would take an hour and a half to make that circle.
In Gatlinburg, it took that too.
You could walk it faster.
I would say it'd be easier just to walk back and forth. But then you didn't look cool in the car, and you couldn't yell at the folks out the window.
Hey, good looking. We'll be back to pick you up later. Says the
She's
Mr.
like-
Microphone commercial.
And they're like, yeah, no.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, again, thank you very much for being here and just being the responsible restaurant owner that you are for our community.
Absolutely.
Thanks for setting the bar, not just for other franchisees, but for other local restaurants too.
We're all friends.
Yes. Yeah.
You're all in this together.
We are.
Serving up love.
Yeah, that's it. I appreciate y'all having me in today.
Absolutely. And again, thank you to Daniel Butner from Carrabba's.
Yes, thank you so much.
And it's now time for Food Holidays.
Let's see what stupidity we can pull out of the box this
So
week.
today is the 17th of June, and
Yes,
it's
it is.
Eat Your Vegetables Day.
Oh, I'm good with that. I like vegetables.
You can have mine.
Well, you eat vegetables.
I had to today.
It's good for us.
My lunch today was a salad.
Oh, now see, did you enjoy your salad?
It was a salad.
Did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed the blue cheese dressing.
So
With the grilled
salad
chicken.
is a blue cheese dressing vehicle for you.
Yeah, yes. It was more like the bed for the blanket of blue cheese that
Now-
I put on.
Let's circle back to where we started. If we go to Yamas,
Yes.
you're going to eat vegetables,
Oh,
and you're
yes.
going to like it.
Yeah, but it's a whole different kind of vegetables.
It is, but
Yeah,
they're
it's
still
not,
good.
It's not iceberg lettuce and...
It didn't say that you had to eat your salad vegetables. It's just eat your vegetables.
That's true.
So
That's
go to
true.
Yamas and eat vegetables that you love.
Amen, brother.
Yeah. Yeah. So we
Yeah.
found something positive.
It's National Apple Strudel Day.
Oh. Can we just do the Carrabba's dessert?
We can.
It's not strudel, but their apple. I forget what we called that. What he calls
That thing.
That thing with the pastry and the ice cream and the apple pie and oh yeah.
All the fantasticness.
That
Yeah.
yeah, some of the best use of apple ever in the history of things that I've eaten.
In the history of apple things.
Exactly.
The crostata.
Crostata.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cinnamon apple crostata.
That yeah.
And it's also National Stewart's Root Beer Day.
Stewart's root beer.
Yeah.
Somebody had to pay for that day.
Yes,
I've never heard of Stewart's root beer. You're
Well,
looking
you know,
at me
the
with
Stewart's had
incredulity.
the orange. They had the orange cream and the couple other. The Stewart's is pretty big, and they have a good root beer. But I don't know why they have. It's not my go-to root beer.
No, it's not mine either. A&W tends to be one of my
I like
favorites.
that. I like Mug. I like
Mug's good.
The Frosty. I like
Yeah.
Hires. Hires is the first root beer. They're the ones
Is
who
it?
invented it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. See, we continue to explore even through stupid holidays.
Yes. And speaking of that, let's move on to the 18th. The 18th is National Cherry Tart Day. I'm okay with that.
I'm okay. Whitney loves cherries. I could live without them.
It's International Picnic Day.
Okay, I'm good with picnics.
When's the last time you went on a picnic? A real picnic, not a gathering
Ooh.
for like churches.
Truth, it's been way too long. It's been years. We used to do that when I was a kid. We lived near Gatlinburg. We would go up into the Smokies and get us a picnic table right by the creek, and we'd stay there all day long. Yeah, love picnicking.
It's National Go Fishing Day, which my dad
Oh.
would love. And it's
Well, he can because he has his built-in lake right behind his house.
That's true. And one of my personal favorites is International Sushi Day.
Ooh,
I love
which
sushi.
fishing day and sushi day going together. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's National Go Fishing, but International Sushi Day.
Okay, so it doesn't matter where you're fishing,
That's
you can
right.
have sushi,
Indeed.
but be careful what you eat.
On the, indeed, again. On the 18th in 1892, macadamia nuts were first planted in Hawaii.
Oh, where did they get planted from?
I would say something in the Middle East.
Maybe so.
Macadamia sounds like
Middle Eastern kind of thing.
like
Because obviously,
Mesopotamia, something
it's one of the big places they come from now is Hawaii.
like that. Sure. Yeah.
Interesting.
The 19th is National Martini Day.
Ooh,
I love a good martini.
a good chocolate martini in particular.
Chocolate martinis, but I like the extra dirty vodka martinis, just with a lot of olive juice. Just
I don't need the olives.
yeah, but
You're more about the savory. I'm more about the sweet.
This is true. On the 19th in 1910, Father's Day was observed for the first time in Spokane, Washington, initiated by Sonora Smart Dodd. In 1966, President Johnson issued the first presidential proclamation designated the third Sunday in June as Father's Day. It was not made permanent U.S. holiday until 1972.
Interesting. You would have thought it went further back than that.
Yeah. Well, Mother's Day is older than that. It was like late 1800s, wasn't it? Like
I remember
1899,
researching that. Mother's Day, when they put it out there, was almost immediately adopted. Father's Day, they put it out there, and it took decades.
Yeah.
We love our moms. Yeah, Dad. You know what?
And the funny thing is the woman who fought to get Mother's Day as a holiday,
Yeah.
as soon as it became one, she wanted it dropped.
Because it had become too commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And that was in West Virginia,
Your home state.
my home state.
Now, let's also say that Father's Day used to have a very interesting distinction. It was the day with the most collect phone calls.
Well, is that true?
It is true.
Yeah, see, now I've learned something.
Yeah. I used to work for the phone company years ago. And, of course, now we don't have collect charges. It's just minutes on your cell phone is all we do.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if you were making a long-distance call and couldn't afford to pay for it, you could charge the person you were calling. So dads ended up picking up the tab
Reversing
for
the charges,
their
yeah.
children to call them.
Yeah. And then there was 1-800-COLLECT.
Yeah.
And the MCI had one, something. I don't know. But, yeah.
We didn't do that to our moms.
No.
We did that to our
But
dads.
she wouldn't have accepted it.
Yeah, she'd be like, "No, you call me."
On the 19th in 1912, the United States government adopted an 8-hour workday. In 1931, the first commercial doors operated by a photoelectric cell were installed on a swinging door system between the kitchen and dining room of Wilcox's Pier Restaurant in West Haven, Connecticut.
Of all places.
In 1978, Garfield, on the 19th, the lasagna-eating cat was born. He was brought into this world by cartoonist Jim Davis.
I thought that went further back than 78. Well, that was in my lifetime.
Now, the guy who voiced him,
Yeah.
Odie, I like lasagna, that guy,
Yeah.
his name was Lorenzo Music.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. On the 19th in 1987, Ben & Jerry Ice Cream introduced a new ice cream flavor, Cherry Garcia.
Yeah.
Probably their most famous flavor.
New York Super Fudge Chunk for me.
What was the one that Stephen Colbert had?
Was it Chunky Monkey?
No. It's something named for him.
Oh, they did one for him.
Yeah. The 20th of June is National Vanilla Milkshake Day.
Yeah,
That's-
I'd
if
rather
I'm
have
one-
something in it.
Actually, I'm a vanilla.
Are you?
I prefer
You're the
vanilla
purist.
milkshakes. Yeah.
It's chocolate for me.
How about Ice Cream Soda Day?
Oh, I'm good with that too.
World Tapas Day, which is the third Thursday of June.
World Tapas Day.
World Tapas Day.
Not just here, but everywhere.
Everywhere.
Even where they don't have tapas, it's Tapas Day.
I wonder, because it comes from Spain, so I wonder if they celebrate that, or is it every day Tapas Day for them?
You know, it should be. They should claim that.
They should.
They should be proud of that.
I like we need a good tapas bar here. We had one and no one went. In 1837, on the 20th, the beginning of the Victorian era, when King William IV died and his 18-year-old niece Victoria became the Queen of United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. Her reign lasted for 63 years.
And thus we have the Victorian era.
That's right. In 2004, on the 20th, Bacardi agrees to acquire Grey Goose vodka. On the 21st, it's the first official day of summer solstice in the northern hemisphere, the longest day of the year. It is the shortest day of the year in the southern hemisphere.
As we tilt in a different direction.
It's
Sort
also National Peaches and Cream Day.
of. Oh, I love peaches.
On the 21st in 1853, Dr. Russell L. Hawes of Worcester, Massachusetts, received a patent for a machine for making and folding envelopes.
Huh.
In 1910, on the 21st, John Walker and Sons registered Johnny Walker trademark for U.S. In the U.S. for a blend of Scotch whiskeys.
Yeah.
In
that's good stuff.
1933, on the 21st, a barge loaded with grain arrived in New York to complete the first Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico barge trip. Just in 1933, you'd think that would have been
Further back.
than that. I mean,
Well,
Tom Sawyer and all that was.
it was further back.
Yeah.
But to go through the entire Great Lakes.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. In 1981, Charles F. Mara paid $24,000 for a 12-bottle case of 1979 Opus 1 Cabernet Sauvignon at a Napa Valley wine auction. It was a record price for a case of American wine back then. Jump back, if you will, to 1968. Tim Beeman married Sandra Houchins in Lebanon, Virginia, went back to Welch, West Virginia, bought and set up a trailer next to a filling station that he owned, and for dinner they had oatmeal pies and small Cokes.
Wow. He went all out.
That's all they could do because they were setting up a trailer and working. So here it was at 10 o'clock at night, and in Welch, West Virginia, no one was open.
Right.
So he went next door to the filling station he owned, got 2 oatmeal pies and 2 small Cokes, and that was wedding dinner. Fast forward now.
She's still with him.
Friday will be 51 years, and every June 21st, they have a small Coke and an oatmeal pie.
To remember.
It's a tradition,
beautiful.
51 years.
That's
Last year,
beautiful.
we did that at Willow's, and we had enough that we had, because all the family gathered in and had.
For the
so
50th.
it's a one day a year. My dad will have a soft drink. It's water all the way for everything else. And we had enough that we gave it to all the staff at Willow's too.
That's cool. That's really.
So happy 51st anniversary to my mom and dad on Friday.
You can't hear this until Friday. So if you're hearing it now and it's ahead of Friday, you didn't hear it. You can hear it on Friday.
The 22nd is National Chocolate Eclair Day.
Oh, yeah.
Love 'em.
With that custard fill.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we going? I'd go to the Humblebee, but it's Monday.
Yeah. Well, this is not till the 22nd, so this is Saturday.
Yeah, but now I want an eclair. I wonder, you know what? That crostata would fill that would do it. I'd be good.
Well, how about the baklava from Yama's?
Oh,
It's
or
not
those
chocolate
massive
eclair, but-
cookies with the it's more chocolate than cookie. Yeah, they do really good dessert.
The tiramisu at Delicio's too.
I have not had the tiramisu at
So
Delicio's.
you got-
I love a good tiramisu.
Yeah.
So Delicio's has got
Yeah.
top drawer.
You know,
Of
we don't
course they
talk
do.
enough about their desserts at Delicio's, but you know, as we know, there's nothing that they do wrong at Delicio's as far as food goes.
It's always going to be
and it's
top
always
drawer.
going to be top drawer, of course.
So we'll have to talk about desserts by sampling the entire dessert menu.
Yes.
Yeah,
And those, I think they do rotate, but there are a couple of standards. The 22nd is also National Onion Rings Day. Are you a fan of onion rings?
You know, sometimes I get the hankering for a good onion ring.
Yep.
Maybe that's part of our burger thing, is finding where's the best onion rings.
There we go. That'll be the next big thing.
That'll be the next one.
In 1633, on the 22nd, Galileo was forced by the Inquisition in Rome to renounce his belief that the earth revolved around the sun.
See, Mr. Butner would have chimed in on that with tons of information.
Yeah. Yes. He could have brought out the telescopes and say, look here.
Let me show you how it's different. Yeah.
In 1706, on the 22nd, in Canada, the Sovereign Council of New France passes an ordinance forbidding citizens from keeping pigs in their houses.
You can keep them in your yard. You may not have them in your house.
Yes. And now people do that because they have the little potbelly pigs.
Yeah,
You know?
I'm sorry. I do not want a pig for a pet.
I don't either.
There's nothing cuddly to me about that.
No, the only thing I would think of would be bacon. In 1928, on the 22nd, General Mills came into existence with the merger of 5 milling companies, creating one of the largest milling companies in the world.
Wow.
In 1947, during the early evening, Holt, Missouri received a record 12 inches of rainfall in 42 minutes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's amazing to even picture.
I can't. I can't. In 1954, the American Chicle Company registered Rolaids, trademark for antacid. That's how you spell
Chicle.
relief. Yeah, Chicle.
Or the-
Chicle.
You'd think that would be like the home of chiclets.
It may still be.
And I thought that's what you were going to say, and then you came out with it's Rolaids.
R-O-L-A-I-D-S.
How do you spell relief?
R-O-L-A-I-D-S. In 1965, on the 22nd, the Kellogg Company registered the trademark for Pop-Tarts.
Oh, I had that yesterday.
I haven't had one in a long time, but I really like them. My wife says no.
The maple brown sugar ones.
See, I'm not a fan. I know
Those
a
are my
couple of
favorite.
people who like that one. I like the fruity ones with the frosting,
Right.
and I also like the vanilla and it's like a chocolate cream and vanilla something. Yeah, I like that.
Now, I will say, there is one of those times when you go with the generic store brand, they're not as good.
It's true.
They're not. I'm sorry.
If it's not Kellogg's, it's not.
They're not as good.
No, not at all. 23rd, which would have been my grandmother's birthday. I don't know which number. It's probably close to the 80-something.
Okay.
The 23rd is National Pecan Sandy Day. I like them.
I like them
It's
too.
not something I'm going to go out of my way looking for, though.
No, but if you're going to give me one, it'll get eaten.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, other than asparagus, I don't know what you're going to give me that I'm not going to eat.
I'm sorry. What did you call it? I thought it was
Asparagus.
asparagus.
Yeah.
I didn't think you could call it by its actual name.
Well,
You did not spontaneously burst into flames. So
no, I didn't. No,
that's
I didn't.
good.
So it must mean that I can say it. Don't want to eat it again. We got that video from the last time. 1964 on the 23rd, Arthur Meehan of the Wham-O Company that was known for Frisbee mainly, but they patented the hula hoop. That's great exercise.
Yeah.
And I thought it was older than 64.
I would have thought so. It probably was, but nobody bothered to patent it.
Right, okay. And on the 23rd in 1993, John Wayne Bobbitt does not appreciate his wife Lorena's expertise with a kitchen knife.
No, he does not.
Neither does just about every male
Yeah.
in the country.
And neither did the gutter sweepers.
No. Ah! What's that? A chinchilla?
I'm going to bite my tongue. You're not going to say anything else. But maybe that was better than, what is it, The World According to Garp.
Yes.
Ow.
Rear-ended in a car. Yeah.
Okay. Moving right along.
Yeah, because John Lithgow's character paid big money to have his.
Yes.
I've not seen that movie since 1982, but I still remember that.
Remember that. Yeah. That was funny.
Well, that is your food holidays in history for this week. Special
Yay!
thanks to James Ehler at Food Reference for being
Thanks, James.
there to make us chuckle, roll our eyes, and make fun of people. Well, we do that the whole time, really. The Man Who Ate to Town podcast is part of the Less Desirables podcast network. Along with this podcast, you can listen to the Less Desirables, the Beer Dads, Fan Interference, and Apartment 5B. You can find all these podcasts and their latest episodes on our network website and directory, tldpodnetwork.com. You can also find social media links for each right there as well.
And remember, there's some information from Apartment 5B that you need to hear.
That's right. It's a crossover episode.
It is crossover. There's a lot of crossover here.
We would greatly appreciate if you visit our sponsors first and foremost. I know we talked about Carrabba's a lot today, but I will still say the Delicio's is my go-to Italian restaurant in town. It's an Italian restaurant, Carrabba's Italian Grill. Different things.
We are making distinctions.
Yeah, this is Tony's special recipes from his days in Naples as a child. He moved here as a teenager, but he's still using family recipes,
Those
whether it's
classic
his
recipes.
or Maria's family. Because
When they're that good,
you
just keep using them.
Yeah, and people love it, and they keep going back. They are a fully ABC compliant restaurant, and they are killing it in the beverage way. That they have more beer taps. They have ABC license. Of course, it's an Italian restaurant. They're going to have a lot of wine. So don't be afraid to go and imbibe.
Whatever you're going to look for, they've got something for you.
Yeah. They're open till 9 Monday through Thursday and open till 10 Friday and Saturday. Check them out on Instagram and Facebook, as Tony would say.
Facebook.
Washington Perkin Provision Company is located at 301 West 4th Street. You'll be able to find a little bit of everything at the Perk. Wolfie's Custards, Larry Beans, Papa Doc's Bionic Tonic, fresh fruit, veggies, eggs, milk, cheese, condiments, toiletries, and much more. Heck, get a delicious and inexpensive sandwich made right there at the counter, the deli counter. Washington Perk is better than a convenience store, not quite a grocery store. They are located at 301 West 4th Street. On Facebook, they're Washington Perk, or on Instagram, it's Washington Perk _DTWS. The Humblebee shop is located at 1003 Brookstown Avenue in the west end of downtown.
Brittany.
Go right now to their Instagram page and just look at the stuff that she posts.
Have a towel with you because you're going to need to wipe up the drool.
If you need it regular, vegan, gluten-free, whatever you need, she's able to make that for you.
And blow you away at the same time.
Absolutely.
Just amazing.
And if you don't think that you want vegan or gluten-free,
be surprised.
You give it a try. I think you might be very, very surprised. The Humblebee shop wants to challenge your perception of scratch made and leave you with an experience you couldn't possibly forget. For more information, follow them on Facebook and Instagram, like I said, or visit thehumblebeshop.co.
SHOPPE.co.
Yes.
That was easier to think about than it was to actually say. Now, I will say, we talk about vegan and gluten-free. It's not like the Impossible Burger.
Ugh.
This vegan is amazing.
Yes.
Just saying.
So, keep an eye on the blog and this podcast to find out more about food news and happenings around town. If you have any food news, send us an email, tim@themanwhoatetown.com, or on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, instant messages. Like us on Facebook. On Twitter, we are man_who_ate_the_town. On Instagram, we are man_who_ate_the_town. My name is Tim.
My name's Ray.
And we're closing the recipe box. Until next time, thank you for reading. Thank you for listening. Yamas! The views and opinions stated by me or any of my guests are solely those of ours and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of our hosting companies, distributors, enemies, friends, or relatives. This podcast is copyrighted and cannot be reproduced or distributed without express written consent of the man who ate the town, that's me, and Such Limited Inc. However, if you ask nicely, we'll probably let you.